Yeah, we got one person. Wait and see if we get a few more before I get rolling. Yeah, we got two people that have joined. Waiting for a couple more before we get rolling. How's the volume? Can you hear it okay? Oh, I don't know how accurate this is, so we're going to really hope that the mic is working and that everything's doing what it's supposed to. Flip the camera around real quick. Hey, how's it going, y'all? Welcome back to the garage. Welcome back to the channel. And if you've never seen one of these, this is a Dodge D100 swept side. These were only built for 3 years and they are pretty rare. Anyways, I've worked on this a couple of times before already, and mostly just maintenance type stuff, but we've got to the point to where the customer drives it more, he feels a lot more confident with it. There's a couple of things that we want to do, plus a couple of things that we've already done to it. So let me turn the camera around. And this is a pretty cool feature. Check this out. So let me back that up a little more. So generally, we all see our hoods open about yay far. Yeah, not on this one. Look how convenient this is. Can stand the hood straight up. How's that for getting access to working on it? So anyhow, went through, did a few little touch-ups. The engine paint was all coming off, so I got that all touched up. Took care of some of the blackout stuff, did a little bit of wiring on it, and now we've come to the point of this oil bath. And what's been going on is this oil bath, and that is a true oil bath air cleaner, has been dripping oil onto the intake. It peeled the paint. It was looking pretty crappy. That's why the paint got taken care of. And you'll see when I take this off, because it's an oil bath, swapping it over to a conventional style. I had this Chrysler one, and I thought that was going to be a really nice match for this. Put that in its place, keep the oil bath. We'd drain all the oil and everything out of it, and then you could just throw it on at car shows, stuff like that. But anyhow, that's not going to work because of how this is set up. And probably the best way to show you, let's see, how's that volume? I don't necessarily see anything in the chat, so I guess that's good. Yeah, good. Give it a like if the volume's good. Anyways, I just kind of mocked this up, but the oil bath air cleaner, it's made up of a bunch of different pieces. So this is the first piece of it that comes off, and on the inside of here, and I'll show you when we get over to the workbench, but this was full of wire mesh. And basically how this works is the air has got to come in, go down and around this body. Well, sitting on the very bottom of this is a bath of oil that air has to pass through. That air passes through, it carries the oil up into the mesh screens inside. The mesh screens inside catch all the dirt, debris, what have you. Needless to say, after this many years, it's kind of worn out. It's leaking already, and we can't use that one, so we're going to convert this one. And as you'll see on an oil bath, that's where your wing nut is to hold your air cleaner on. And if I pop this off real quick, you'll see there is nowhere for a stem in this style 2-barrel carburetor. hold on, let me kick a light on, see if it, there we go. Anyways, there's nowhere to put a stem. Not only is there nowhere to put a stem, but if you look at the side, oh, hold on. YouTube didn't like that. Okay, here we go. If you look at the side view, you'll see that that's a tapered ramp to begin with. So just finding a standard style air cleaner to fit on there is going to be pretty difficult. So we have decided that we are going to put our camera back together. By the way, let me fill you in a little more on the Dodge swept side. So these were only built for 3 years. That's it. I don't know the production numbers, but it's pretty darn low. But the really interesting part is the side panel. And what that side panel came from was the station wagon, the two-door station wagon specifically. So they adapted the two-door station wagon side panel to the side of a pickup, and that's where you get the 59 Dodge swept side. He just had the bed done, and they did a really nice job on that. How nice and clean the interior is. The Slicko truck. That'll get the Andy Griffith tune stuck in your head for about 3 weeks. Anyways, back to this thing. So the bottom portion isn't so bad because I can scuff all this with like a 36 grit, and my thought process is what I'm gonna do is after I scuff this really good with like a 36, I'm gonna put a tube of self-leveling seam sealer in there to give it a nice flat surface for an air cleaner to sit against, and that'll seal the bottom of that air cleaner element off. And then on this one, I'm basically gonna do the same thing, but the problem with this is that, you know, it's 60 some years old. It's pretty beat, out of shape, and that's actually pretty good. I've done a bunch of, oh, you can see a big dent right there. I've done a bunch of the metal work to this already. So I talked to the customer, we're gonna do this conversion, but the first thing I gotta do, and in the process of doing this, is we're gonna restore this and make it look nice and new. So that's pretty much what we're doing here, and let me show you how we're gonna work this thing out. In the meantime, the OBS is all set up, it's ready to paint. I'm just going over the last little bits and pieces and what have you that need to get done, last minute sanding, a little bit of filling. I'll probably show you from the other side once you get the camera and crap over here. We'll just throw that up there for the time being. Anyways, that's all jammed out, got the roof all painted, all ready, that's all done. So what's going to happen is I'm sorry, the rain tray or windshield valance is all been jammed. Same thing on the inside of the fenders. All that's painted, so when all this gets done, it's just going to get one more slight little coat, another layer of clear, and that's how it's going to look. And you're never going to be able to tell that this truck was not white because it's painted through and through. If you hadn't been here before, we took all the seals and everything out of this, and we painted all the way up to the edges. This is going to get masked right along the panel seam. And since I've jammed this and I carried the paint over top and then I cleared it, this is all going to get re-prepped. This isn't going to be touched. I'm going to mask it right here, and you're never going to have a paint line. So that's how you get that quality look and finish. Oh, also, well, I've been spending so much time in the garage. I've been working on the gym. If you didn't know I had a gym, yeah, there's a gym back here. And just getting it more organized through the portable speakers and everything back here. Through a bunch of my old sporting stuff and racing stuff and all sorts of motorsport stuff around there. Anyways, just a little more motivating to get in there and use it more. Anyways, all right, so let's talk about this air cleaner. Let's get this thing all set up. I got this all sorts of jacked up. Okay. That's better. Okay. Anyhow, as we were just talking about, this actually had some really big dents in it, but it still got some dents in it, so it doesn't sit straight. And it's got a pretty nice star pattern in it that I want to get that star pattern back out. So what I'm going to do is, and this is one of the reasons I keep a pad nailed down to my workbench, so that when you're doing stuff like metal work and reshaping metal, you're not beating against something that's a really hard surface and putting a bunch of more dents in it. So anyhow, if you guys can see this okay, actually, you may want to correct that a little bit. Sorry. You don't have a cameraman? Kind of sucks. Especially when you got to work around it. Okay, so what I got here is a sand mallet. If you guys have never seen one, or maybe you have seen one, you just never heard one because you didn't pick it up. It's got like dead shot in there, keeps it from bouncing. Really nice to use when you're shaping metal. This, just a standard old bodywork body dolly, but this edge here, and with all the seams of that star pattern, fits right there in that star pattern. And I can start to get this metal pushed back out to where it's supposed to be while following that edge. And you hear the difference where I'm hitting a bend? It's because there's air underneath it. Now it's more solid. The dent's coming out. By the way, these edges are super freaking sharp. Those are all going to get cut off, and this metal is going to get worked so it has a nice clean edge just like that. And you can heat and shrink metal to do just that. See, there's a big old dent right there. So we set that right in there on that edge. And I may not want to push it all out in one shot. Okay, you want to work the metal. You don't want to beat the metal into submission. That's a misconception. A lot of people think you got to really beat the hell out of metal to get it to move, and it's just not the case. Sometimes you just got to persuade it, and sometimes you got to use a little bit of foul language, but it works. Flip it over. We'll see how we're looking. And with a marker, hopefully this shows up. So that's pushed in. That's got to get knocked back out. Same thing there, and there, and there. All in all, it's not looking too bad, but that spline's pretty beat up. Let's see if we can straighten that one out a little more. So I can just slide that right across the metal. As the dent starts to go away, it's easier to slide it. And just basically slide that right up to that edge, and that's where we're going to stop. And we'll flip it back over. See, that's not looking too bad. So once I strip this all down, still got these dents I got to get out of there. Those are going to be fun. So those are always going to have air under them on the table. So what I may do, could have swore I had a paint stick around here. Could actually put a paint stick underneath there and flip this over and start to tap that down, and the paint stick should keep it nice and straight. Knew I had one. Actually fits pretty decent too. So need a cameraman. And even if I overdo it a little bit, I'd rather tap it down from the opposite side. And still got a little ways to go. There's a different tone when it's hitting that paint stick under there. That's not too bad. Probably still going to work on that just a little bit more. So at this point, we have probably start to set this up to strip. And well, geez, this thing is still got, see that one right there? Actually right there and right there. See if we can shape those up a little bit. See that rock? There's that dent right there. Can you hear that tone change? Just because it's dented, don't mean it's junk. Now I see another big one over here. That hurt. Sorry, I don't have anyone to monitor the chat, so if anyone's talking away in there, like, feel free. I'll get to it here in a second. That is starting to look pretty darn good, and starting to pull some of those low spots out. So I even work on that spear a little more. That may end up pulling that dent right out for us. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. All right, let's take a look at the chat. Hey Gerald, how you doing? Douglas Meyer, get a punch? Heck no, dude, it'll look like a freaking golf ball. I do not want to punch. That's exactly why I don't want to punch. Can you imagine having to get all those little dents out of there? That would suck. That would really suck. Anyhow, so now that I've got that done, I think what I'm going to do before I even get to the stripping process. Oh man, that thing just stabbed me. Didn't draw blood. Anyways, I think I'm going to start to cut these off, and not really worried about making too much of a mess with it because it's going to get stripped. It's going to get all cleaned up. I think probably, I know the method to get rid of those. By the way, that's the whole element, that greasy, nasty, meshy thing. That's what was all in there. All right, thinking with a grinder and a flap disc, I should be able to take those down just enough so I can still work the metal that's left and get that edge put in there. Huh. Thought I was missing an extension cord and it was sitting right here. By the way, I don't know about you guys, but I have just found over the years, anytime that I'm grinding, like, I love to wear TIG welding gloves. That is the best way to grind. Gives you a layer of protection, and they're soft enough. That's a nice thing about TIG welding gloves. They're soft enough and thin enough that you can feel everything pretty well. All right, let's see what we can do. Hold on. When the sparks really suck, and the sparks really suck, by the way, TIG welding sleeves. Feel like an 80s girl going to high school. By the way, are you noticing the precision thumb guide? Watch for it. That's not looking too bad. Wow, 36 people watching that much grinding? Y'all are freaking bored. All right, so now that that's done, you see that I have that raise where each one of those stubs came off. I'm just gonna grab a pair of channel lock. We're gonna squish it just a little bit. Oh, that is working nice. Now I may have to go back with the grinder now that it's squished and reshape that little tiny edge just a little bit, but we should be able to have a nice air cleaner that just sits in there, sits down far enough against the bottom that you still have the gap. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a hole saw and I'm going to go through the sides of this so that it has more airflow. Not that it's a hot rod, but you don't want it choking, especially out here in the desert heat. Or the Texas heat. Yeah, this is a desert. This is West Texas. That one's taking a little bit of manipulating to get it pushed back down, but got it. It's like the last one. That is looking pretty darn good. So now that we got it to that point, you grab some semi-rough sandpaper. This is 220. And I'm just going to smooth out that edge so it quits eating the crap out of your hand. But not only that, the sandpaper will help start to straighten out some of that edge. Make sure it's nice and even all the way around so that it looks factory. It's not the case of just modifying something, it's keeping it looking the way that it should. That one was missing its lip. You know, even if somebody was to take it apart, you still want it to look nice and original, and not like somebody went in there and cut it all up to make it work. I guess maybe if they're a teenager, that's cool. That's how my cars looked when I was a teenager. This metal is soft enough too that with a heavy enough grit, I can actually sand that shape right back into it. And even with just a little touch of maybe some polyester body filler before it gets repainted. What do y'all think? Is it looking pretty factory? See if somebody told me to get a belt sander. Nope. That is looking pretty good. All right, folks, I appreciate y'all tuning in. I'm gonna flip this thing around. I'm going to call it, at least for this part of it. And the next video, I don't know if it'll be live or if it'll just be a standard old video, but either way, it's going to be on finishing this air cleaner. You guys are going to see it after I strip all the paint, get it primered, get it body worked a little more, and we'll see what it looks like. Again, thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like button, push that subscribe. We'll catch you next time.